Those are the kinds of solutions we should be looking for, not throwing more police at the problem.
This is regarding the homeless. In December, the Compass reported on the stories of 3 area homeless, and homelessness is real in Milwaukee. There is tension between marginalizing the visibility of the homeless and facing the challenges this population represents. How would you use your office to address the needs of the homeless? We'll start with Andy Reed.
Well, I've seen it firsthand with my office being on Brady. There are quite a few homeless people that walk up and down the street. They sit there and they beg for money and food and sorts of things like that. It's a very touchy subject because you see these people and you see their eyes and you know that there's something just not right. It's not a lot of them are just homeless. A lot of them are mentally ill too, and they need to be taken care of in a way that is going to be okay for them, let alone the rest of the population. There are places set up right now that they can go to if they know to go to them. Dealing with the police department in this case, the responses to quite a few of the homeless people that I run into is kind of a shoo them away, as opposed to possibly picking them up and taking them to a place that could be set up to help them out. Again, it comes back to funding too, because we need to know where that money's coming from. But it's an issue that needs to really be looked at, and right now, how can you deal with it without having a program set up? It just doesn't work. So I guess what I'm saying is, if we could put at least a small program together, a place where they could go, that if they would end up being a nuisance to a certain group of people or something like that, that they could be picked up and taken to and put in a safe spot.
This is a question that touches me deeply. I've been an advocate for the homeless for a long time. One of my dear friends, Rex Baum, was murdered by teenagers. And I think that people don't understand the homeless. First of all, many of these men that are homeless are veterans. And our Veterans Administration is dropping the ball with regards to them. They're not part of the society, so the veterans won't provide them with the services. If you don't have an address, you don't get the services. I would suggest that we look at a pilot project in Seattle. We have to remember that just because a person's homeless doesn't mean they're human. We can treat people humanly, and we can treat them humanly with dignity. And the program in Seattle, what they do is they bought an apartment house, and they allow the men to live in it. It costs $32,000 per year per resident to be able to allow them to live there. And you say, well, sir, that sounds like a lot of money. But you know, every time you send a homeless person to the hospital or you send them to jail, it costs over $73,000 a year. We can reduce the cost if we use common sense. We have to develop public policy that, first of all, meets the budgetary needs of the society, meaning that the taxpayers can afford. But second of all, our public policies have to be able to address the needs of the citizens. And telling the homeless, you have to go there, you can't drink, you have to eat this, you have to do that, does not solve the problem. Thank you.
I would continue on the progress that I've made as far as homelessness is concerned. For example, on 2nd and Orchard, I was successful in helping to broker a deal to establish a homeless shelter that is presently in place, known as Hope House. Apparently, the party that was interested in purchasing that for a homeless shelter was running into some problems with the owner of that particular property. I interceded. I used my office to help expedite and actually realize that sale. So there is an actual homeless shelter in existence on 2nd and Orchard right now, known as Hope House. I also used my position in the past to open up the Kosciuszko Park Community Center for homeless people when the weather got especially cold. And I think that another way that we can help address the homeless issues is to work proactively to identify particular locations that would be suitable for development for homelessness.
Please describe describe where you feel privatization of public service is appropriate and where it is not. And one of the concerns has been the talk about Mitchell International Airport.
I forget who goes first.
It could be Arthur Kimball.
Sorry, and can you repeat the question?
Please describe where you feel privatization of public service is appropriate and where it is not. And I understand that Mitchell is not necessarily you, it's more of the county board.
The moderator is correct. The county runs the airport. It's a big issue. It's an issue that has to do with the unions. It's an issue that has to do with the taxpayers. And it's an issue of accountability. Are we going to say we're going to privatize a job and necessarily not get it done? Milwaukee has great employees. I believe the problem is there's no leadership in the legislature, there's no leadership in the mayor's office, and there's very poor management. We don't take the resources that we have and use them effectively. We can't point our fingers and say, workers, you're lazy. It's not the workers' fault. It's the manager's fault. It's the legislator's fault who don't come up and set management standards for departments to be able to meet. I don't believe that we should privatize the police, that's for certain. I don't believe we should privatize public works. When you look at the public works programs, the problem at public works is the ability to dispatch. It's the ability to plan. It's the ability to be able to find out where the biggest needs are. That's not happening right now. The problem is that the legislature, the common council, the aldermen are not taking responsibility to set standards for the public works department to meet. How hard is it to have a strategic budget that says we want to have this many streets to be covered, we want this many potholes fixed, we want these standards to be met? It's not happening. It's certainly not happening on the capital side. You know, we hear a lot of talk about all of the programs that have happened and what we're doing and what the current alderman has done for us. He spent 20 years in politics. He voted for the pension scandal. He shows that he does not understand the needs of our community.
Well, I would submit to you that the reason why I've been in office for 20 years and the reason why I've not only been in office for 20 years, but I've won by very, very large margins is because I have been very responsive to my constituents. Everybody, even people that don't support me on all my positions, agree on one thing, and that is that I'm a very hard worker and that I take the time to work with my particular constituents. I'm available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. My home phone number is in the phone book. I give out my cell phone freely. So to try and say that, but anyway, as far as privatization is concerned, generally speaking, I think that city services such as police, fire, and so forth should be operated by the government, and I think that we need to continue to work on ways to help government operate more efficiently. Thank you.
Well, I guess my question is, who paid for that cell phone? Because when you were a county supervisor, the county paid for it.
I paid for this is my cell phone.
That's good.
Out of my own pocket.
Saving some money.
Yeah.
Privatization, I would be totally against it. I have friends that are police officers, I have a brother that's a fireman, and beyond that, you have to think about, if it were to go private, can you imagine trying to get something done? Let alone the cost. The cost will go through the roof. At least with it being a service through the city, we have a voice to say something about it. If it went private, like Bell Ambulance, they would love this to go private. But you will be paying through the nose, let alone trying to get them to come to your house without first being insured. And how many people are uninsured? It's a crazy idea, unbelievable. We need to make what we have work.